All right, everybody, welcome to yet another Nova Scribes. If you are joining us on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It helps us out. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am super excited to welcome for her first public appearance as the face behind Facilitators Say, Sarah From. A little bit about Facilitators Say. It began as a Twitter account in 2012 and it grew to 35,000 group members before leaving the platform in 2024. Facilitators Say now holds space for memes on Instagram and on Blue Sky. Their product line for facilitators launched in 2022 and it is run by Sarah From. She is an actual, live, real human facilitator. Their sole purpose is to bring joy to fellow facilitators and to lift up the sacred and sometimes silly craft of facilitation. Sarah, I am super excited to have you on. Thank you for making Nova Scribes your first public appearance as the face of Facilitators Say. Welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I made 2026 the year that I was going to consider or say yes to public appearances related to Ship Facilitator, and it brings me a lot of joy. I hope it brings you some joy, and I hope we have some fun tonight. So, as Brian said, Ship Facilitator really is about joy. My purpose in doing it, and it is just me. Some people have asked, like, who's your team? There's no team. It's me in my house on my phone. So the purpose really is to bring joy to you all, to my people, my fellow facilitators, and to lift up the sacred and sometimes absurd craft of facilitation. And I really think that like the hook of Ship Facilitators Say is in this tension and the holding of both the sacred of facilitation, because I do believe it's sacred and important work, and the ways that it can be absurd or silly, the things we find ourselves saying, the moments and weird spots we find ourselves in. And so those things together are the sauce that makes up Ship Facilitators Say. I saw someone in the chat put in a dumpster fire. I'm right there with you. So part of the reason why I need this, why I think a lot of people resonate with it, is because in big and small ways, we are trying to do something that's kind of impossible, but is so necessary, which is to create containers for insight, is one way to say it, in the general context of a dumpster fire. And I'm not going to go through all the things that make up that dumpster fire. I think we know, but that is what we have to do every day. That's the job. And it's not easy. And so if we can find moments of joy in coming together and reflecting and laughing at how absurd some of this is, the words we say, the funny things we do, I think that that's one way that we can help, each other get through. So a little bit about Ship Facilitators Say. I do say one idea per sticky note because until I get a brand deal with Post-it, I'm not going to use their brand name. But that's a core Ship Facilitator graphic there. And I think someone on the call actually is wearing that t-shirt. So I was awestruck by the power of facilitation at a very early age. I was in way too many teen leadership programs where I saw facilitators at the front of the room with a flip chart. Oh yeah, Andrea Hancock there. You have the shirt. Love it. And I was just really in awe of the power of facilitation. And it really stuck with me even as young as, age 13 when I first experienced it. Before I went into the business of facilitation, I worked in nonprofits. Most of my clients are now still nonprofits. Actually, really all of them are. And so a lot of my work reflects that. I started Ship Facilitators Say in 2012 on a whim. I let it kind of linger there for 6 months at a time. I'd come back to it. I'd forget about it. I'd come back to it. But then during the pandemic, and this is when I was on Twitter, it really exploded. And I think for exactly that reason that I mentioned, a moment ago, which is that people needed these moments of joy. I know I did. And we needed connection. And so I'm happy that Ship Facilitators Say could become a site of connection for people, in this particular subset of the world. Then an evil overlord acquired Twitter and I left. And since then, I've been rebuilding on Instagram. So I now have about 15,000 followers across platforms on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Um, my who is Ship Facilitator is a question that I've fielded for many years. My name is Sarah Fromm. I have a real job. I'm not one of those content creators where I'm like making any money off of it. Um, it is, I have a real job, which is that I work with a group called Imagine Us, which is a consulting group that works with social change organizations. I'm also a coach with the Rockwood Leadership Program. I also work independently. And I have, real qualifications in terms of my facilitator chops and who am I to be like making these jokes that I've been facilitating in professional settings for over 20 years. I've been working as an OD consultant and leadership coach and group facilitator for 15 years. And I'm really active in my local community. And that means I'm in a lot of groups as a group member, as a facilitator, and et cetera. So, um, like any good facilitator, I don't want to talk too much without turning it over to you. So I'm going to ask for our first poll to be made live, which is a check-in. How are you arriving today?
Okay.
And Brian's going to help us do that poll.
Yep. Working on that. Give me just a quick second.
And I'll just let you think about it. The options are fully present and ready to hold space, physically here, mentally in yesterday's breakout, or I already need a bio break. So go ahead and take that poll.
Couple of different ways you can get at it. You can scan this with your code. You can scan the QR code. You can click the link in Zoom chat if you want. That'll get you there too. And we're starting to see the dots dot.
And okay. All right, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so we've got people who are still a lot of people who are still in yesterday's breakout, which I definitely feel you on that. And by the way, if you need to take a bio break, go right ahead. Oh, my colleague Jai Young's here. Hi, Bestie. One of my favorite co-facilitators is here. I'm so excited. Um, okay, so thanks for checking in. We're gonna move on um, to some affinity mapping. So this picture is I don't know if you take pictures of your facilitation. I know I do. This is a group I worked with, and we were doing some work around culture, and we did some affinity mapping, lots of post-its up on the wall. They put them in, categories. And so I did a little affinity mapping about the themes of Ship Facilitator. And I'm gonna share those with you, and we'll talk about them a little bit. So the first theme that we talk about a lot on Ship Facilitator is our participants. We love our participants, love them, even if they are not always, exactly doing what we want to do when we want them to do it. I think, and by the way, feel free to like give a heart or a hand wave or a thumbs up if you see something that resonates with you. So this is a pretty typical, I think scenario where we as facilitators say, let's start with a 30-second check-in. How are you entering the space today? And then the first person to answers not with 30 seconds, but with their entire life story, volumes 1 through 6, plus the prologue, epilogue, dedication, and acknowledgments. Happens quite a bit. Ooh, I went on a date like that once. That's a good one. All right. Then there is what happens when the group that shows up in the room is not the same group that you interviewed during the prep calls. Hopefully you've done prep calls, like not just with the leader who has one vision of their group, but you actually talk to the group members and you have like some sense of, what's really going on. But even then, sometimes we find ourselves in this situation. And then there's, despite our best attempts, around giving folks clear instructions in multiple modes of communication and learning, um, you know, multiple times on the screen, passing them out. Sometimes, folks just still cannot get those instructions. For those of you not from the 90s, can anyone tell us, I'm going to ask for a group participation here. Can anyone explain this meme to folks who don't get it? Can someone
That's
come off
Tanya
camera?
and Nancy.
I
That's
mean,
great.
off mute.
Tamara
Kathy's got this one.
Lipinski. No. Oh my gosh. A bad thing's about to happen, and it
Okay.
involves a break.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's one. Okay. Does someone else want to take another guess at it?
I can't
Andrea?
remember the name. It was is it Tanya?
Tanya
Tanya
Harding
Harding. And who was
and
the other?
Nancy Kerrigan.
Nancy Kerrigan. Yeah, doesn't she like break her leg or something?
Yes. Yes, Cheyenne. So, yeah, so these two were competitors, and there's a great movie, I, Tanya. So Tanya Harding basically put not a full like hit out on Nancy Kerrigan, but got someone to like come up with a pipe and break her knee. So, and um, so yeah, so this is about the relationship between breaks that we get as facilitators. We get the same breaks as our participants do, and you can be really looking forward to that break that you need to do your own kind of stuff, and then the participant comes up and has a question. So kneecapped by the participant with a question. And then finally on this theme, the good old plus delta. And I know this is hard to
That's
read,
great.
but on the left is the plus, and it says, someone has written, I really enjoy the singing. And on the right is the delta, and someone wrote, I dislike singing. And so just a little, reflection on the nature of and usefulness of feedback, right? From participants whom we really love. We love our participants. So second theme here is facilitator speak. And one of the things I love about us, I love about facilitators, is that we can make a reflection question out of pretty much anything. A season, like an animal, like something that the holiday coming up, right? And in this case, it's spring's coming. So since spring has finally sprung, please go around and share one thing you think is blossoming on this team. And I think a fun game for facilitators, I might say even like a party game, could be name something and then come up with a facilitatory reflection question on that thing. Scotch tape. What concept is not sticking in this group, despite the fact that we've tried to get it to stick many times? We do, however, in our speak have one overlap here with baking show hosts, like the British Bake Off. You have 1 minute remaining. We both groups say that a lot. And I want you to think about your favorite examples of facilitator speak. And let's actually maybe put some of these in the chat. I have some here. Before we move on, does anyone want to circle back, double click, or piggyback on what's already been said? So feel free to put in the chat. Let's put that in the parking lot. Yeah, we actually have t-shirts that say that. Let's build on that. Put a pin in it. Yeah, say more, right? So we have these kind of ways of speaking that when I step back and look at it are actually kind of funny. Okay, so theme 3 are co-facilitators. Co-facilitators, a love story. So I love making content that people love to share with their co-facilitators because I know for me, my work exploded in richness and fun when I got to work more and more with other people. And so making memes about co-facilitators is one of my favorite things. So this is me and my co-facilitator listening to the groups reporting out. Aren't we cute? And then I love the time, the kind of like sidebar time that co-facilitators get. Um, so why did the facilitators put you in breakouts? Was it for small group sense making, or was it to kvetch with each other about how the session is going, right? Or maybe to trade recipes or, whatever. Or yes, because you have to pee. That's the other. It's a both and. Yes, it's a both and. But I love the co-facilitator sidebar. And I don't know if I'm curious, I know I've done this. Has anybody ever called someone from the bathroom of a gig when you're doing a gig alone and you need a lifeline because the group's kind of going off the rails? I've done this more than once where I've called somebody, a colleague from the bathroom to say, okay, this just happened. What do I do next? And we just love those people. Or texted them, right? And let's come off mute and get a couple people for this question, which is, what does your favorite co-facilitator have that you lack? Because one of the things that I know is true for me in co-facilitation is that I really work well with people who, are super go with the flow, because I'm not that, right? So does anybody want to come off mute and share what's something that your favorite co-facilitator has that you lack?
Oh, I'll go on that one. I work a lot with Trina, and she on the MBTI scale, she is an F, and I am like the exact opposite T. And so yeah, you can see it in the way that we co-facilitate together.
Yeah.
And I am definitely we have 7 minutes for debrief.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Awesome. Great. Yeah, so some of us are super, wordy and appreciate like people who are less wordy, people who can do the group math, all of that stuff. Okay, so our next theme is supplies. We had to go here, especially with a group of graphic facilitators. Now, I don't know if this is like my stereotype or my assumption about graphic facilitators is that you all are even more into markers than like
Oh
me.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Feel like what's coming here. Okay. So we have some snobbiness about our supplies, right? It's only a post-it note if it comes from the 3M region of Minnesota. Otherwise, it's just a sparkling sticky note. We also get really excited by supplies, right? So the paper tore off the flip chart pad cleanly every time, and the goosebumps that produces. And it's so serious that I even made a t-shirt about it, right? One of our favorite facilitator saying, stories stay, learnings leave, but markers are mine. I added that last part. So on that note, it's time for our second poll, which is how intense are you about your markers?
You can go back to that same link.
Yep. Option one is hands off my Newlands, obsessive. Option two is bring me your juiciest Sharpie flip chart, serious. And option three is come sniff this Mr. Sketch, fun and free.
And Sarah, just because you're working with graphic facilitators, I feel obligated, I tell you, to tell you that it's actually pronounced Neuland.
See, I don't know what I don't know. And I can admit that. I don't know what I don't know. Yeah. Neuland's great. See, in my sphere of I don't know what you would call us, non-graphic facilitators.
Yeah, facilitators.
Facilitators, okay. Neulands are not what are Neulands, right? Like it's not known to us. I'm curious, could somebody come off mute and talk to us a bit about, or at least maybe even for my sake and my colleague who doesn't know, what is it about Neulands that make them so amazing?
They are professional markers and professional workshop materials. So if you think about something that could help you in your practice and you wish for, they probably have it.
Okay.
So
I
Renata is actually a
also,
Neuland ambassador, and Kathy is showing you her Neuland marker that she had with her.
Wow.
yeah,
Oh,
I have one
refillable.
reachable. I also would say that I like them because they're refillable, they have
Yeah.
really no scent, and there's like tons of colors.
Yeah.
And you can replace the nibs, and they're very well designed.
Renata,
So
this would be the time to drop your ambassador discount code into the chat.
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll do
I
it
want
now.
some now. The outliner. Wow. Yeah, I've gotta try this. And I feel like this could be a crossover to my like kind of home community facilitator community, like to learn about these markers and start to incorporate them into our practice. That's awesome. Okay. Are you with me? Can I keep going with a couple more themes here? All right. Um, and we are gonna have some time for Q&A. All right. So, the next theme is about space. A conference room is not a retreat. Um, I don't know about you, but I cringe, though I certainly understand from a budget perspective. I cringe every time, there's a agreement that we're working on prepping for a retreat, and it's actually in the conference room of the place where people work, right? Maybe a little better if it's at like the some other conference room, but still. Um, and yeah, so right now, actually, we can guarantee this, right? Right now, somewhere in the world, there's a facilitator calling a 3-hour meeting in a windowless room, our journey. Okay. Journey also, I meant to say this, that these themes, they're the borders between them are permeable. There's like a both andness there, right? Because this also brings up the facilitator speak of our journey, which is a real facilitator thing, right? Oh, good. We've got the marker code there. This is awesome. Keeping your kids away from I'm just looking at the chat, and keeping your kids away from the good supplies, that is, that's a battle I have lost. I'm just going to say right there, I have lost. But I really, kudos to those who've managed it. So, I'm sure we all have examples of some of the worst rooms we've worked in. For me, this was one of them. It was a combo of the lighting, the wallpaper, the carpet, and just had to question, is this? And then if you can see, there's like a tiny window at the end of the room. I think that was the only window in the room. And so I would love to hear, what's the strangest place you've facilitated? For me, this is a picture here of a COVID, heart of COVID era facilitation, where I was doing an interpersonal leadership styles workshop in a tent, with a flip chart and an LCD screen in a tent, which was a once, interesting thing. So I think I saw here submarine. Wow. Okay. Oh, because Brian, you do military work, right? Is that how that came in, or
That's
just
exact. I know, in fairness,
okay.
it was docked, but they still did the meeting in the submarine.
Wow. And what were the implications of that for how you did your work?
I had to get creative. There were no smooth walls.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we love clean walls. Um, an army motor pool. Andrea, could you explain that?
That
What's an
was
motor
also one of the a COVID days thing. They wanted to still have it even though it was COVID, so they picked the motor pool because it had the huge garage doors that went up, so it was very well ventilated. Luckily, it was March in North Carolina, so it was like a good temperate 70 degrees, but I got there and looked around and went, where am I supposed to put anything? Like, there's no front, there are no walls, there's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, lack of wall space when you walk in. I'm sure you all do this. Like, I always ask for pictures of the space beforehand. Um, and when you get there and there's something that is just different, or you're going in and you can't put stuff on the walls, it's rough. Okay, so a log cabin, a basement with one lamp, 1,000 years old Catholic monastery. Wow, yeah. I facilitated at a gorgeous spot last week, which a gorgeous retreat center, but it was a barn and it was also an art like gallery basically. So there was art on all the walls and there's absolutely no wall space. So we brought in a lot of easels. Okay. Oh, the lamp, love it. So our fifth theme is that we are facilitators everywhere we go. This isn't just a job, it's a lifestyle. Like, sometimes much to the frustration or amusement of our friends and family. So it's sometimes hard to turn it off in social situations. You have a friend asking, is it hard to turn off facilitator mode in social situations? Silence. I'm listening for what's emergent in the silence, right? So bless our friends who put up with us. We have this way of facilitating any group we step into. It can be hard to hold back at a dinner when you notice that a couple people aren't talking, right? And some of this is just being a good human, which I think, we're really good at, that's at its best. Facilitation is really about, inclusion and bringing everybody in. But sometimes it's countercultural, shall we say, to the social dynamic. And then there's all this great work we do out in the world, and then the reality of like our real life, at home with kids and family, or whatever our situation is. So we could be out in the world creating brave space, intuiting the emotional field, using intervention wisely, giving candid yet sensitive feedback, and then a weekend of being much less skillful with the people who we love the most. That sounds very healthy. Okay. Yeah. So does that resonate with anyone, that idea of that divide? Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're gonna do one more theme here, and then we're gonna have some questions and time for more participation. So the sixth theme here is about the business of facilitation. We are professional business people running professional businesses, which is kind of a joke because I don't know about you, but I didn't get in this to be a business person, and yet here I find myself having to do all this business person stuff, such as have a plan for developing business. And if it's not clear, this is a guy pouring a huge thing of olive oil over every conversation, asking, have you considered hiring a facilitator? And that being the business plan, right? And this is feeling very professional after cutting and pasting a terms and conditions section into a client contract. I'm sure it will hold up, I'm sure. And yeah, I can't decide whether to respond to this RFP or poke my eyes out. Like that is that's a choice some of us are making, right? Because it can be tough. So I'm curious for folks here, how many of you, and you could just like raise your hand or put a little response thing, how many of you like run a business as your facilitation is like a business that you run versus like you work inside an organization or something? Okay, so most folks, yeah. Okay, a lot of folks, yeah. Yeah, sometimes. Okay, so the decision to never respond to RFPs can be very strategic, yeah. And MOU, yeah, sometimes these business terms, when you say them, you feel kind of fancy. Okay. So I want to open it up for some Q&A. And this meme's a little joke about what it can be like to facilitate fellow facilitators, which gets a bad rap, I'll say. I personally have had a lot of great experiences facilitating fellow facilitators, but there's a lot of, um, yapping about it. Versus coaching fellow coaches, which I don't know if any of you are coaches, but it is awesome to be coached by a fellow coach. Like that's great. Coach to coach, that's amazing. So that said, I'm open to any questions you have. I know, Brian, you have some questions. And I'd love to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, so many. So you can come off mute if you want. You can type something in the chat, whatever works for you. I'm just Sarah. I've got like 200 questions for you. I'm going to try to keep it to the top ones. I mean, I would ask, where do you get your ideas? Except it's like you get your ideas from real life. I guess my question is how are you in the moment recognizing these things that I think a lot of us just experience and take for granted, and you're like, that's twisted enough in order to make it into the account, right? Like,
Yeah.
what goes on in your head that is like, oh yeah, that's good.
I think it's just how my brain works, that I have a running, like almost like a Slack channel in my brain that shit facilitators say, where and also in my notebook, I will keep like a page anytime I facilitate. I don't set out to do it, but by the end of especially a multi-day thing, I will have a little page in my journal of like things that I've heard, or experienced or done or seen that are ship facilitators say worthy. I always try to lift up, not tear down, as much as I am, making jokes. And I always think about like, I never want a client, certainly, to feel called out, or a co-facilitator to feel called out. I try to do everything with love and in a spirit of positivity. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. So with that in mind, it sounds like you triage and you filter and you're kind of careful. What hasn't made it to the account? And let me see if I can qualify that a little bit. When you and I were having our initial conversation setting this thing up, I think I shared with you my "you've got to be kidding me" list of all just the
Yes.
crazy stuff that's happened. So what's been one of those crazy moments for you where it's happening and you find yourself thinking, oh, this can't actually be happening right now. Like I'm
Yeah.
here, I'm witnessing it, but this can't actually be happening. Have you got one of those?
Honestly, it's more a question of I think I filter pretty much everything into the account some way. Like
Mm,
um I find, like, I'll give you an example. So the things where I feel like find myself saying, I can't believe this is happening, or like, wow, this is a moment, are often exchanges about power in the room. And like sometimes, like, as a female facilitator, I facilitated when 8 months pregnant. Like, people will say stuff that is sexist, or people said really weird stuff when I was pregnant. And I, without calling those people out, have found a way to filter it into the account. And so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm definitely careful about
mhm.
my choice of words and stuff, but I don't really think that there's been too much that hasn't made it in there. That's remarkable.
Well, I have a personal favor to ask. I would love to share my list with you, and I
Please.
would love to
Your
see.
list is incredible.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it. But I would love to see you take just one of those ideas and drop it into your account. I would love to
Sure.
see that.
Yeah.
So Andrea, I noticed you got a little green check mark next to your name. Is that, no, you don't? Yes, you do. I promise you there's a little green check mark there. It's
It
a thing.
is. I used the reaction and it decided to never go away.
Oh,
So
it's stuck around. Got it. All right, Miki, you got your hand up. What's going on?
Hi. It's Mickey like the mouse.
Nikki, excuse me.
Cool. It's not the first time. So I have Sarah would love to hear your take, but also poll the facilitators in the room. Would you rather have someone who needs to eat a meal do what we did and like eat it on screen, which is probably really distracting, or would you rather have them go off screen so you don't distract people? I would rather have people stay on screen because I would rather know that they're there and I can like call on them and see what's going on. But I've had another co-facilitator of mine basically call me out for eating while she was facilitating. So just curious what people think.
Yeah. Okay, so it's seeing screen on. It depends on the meeting and the agreements. Yeah. I mean, I was once part of a year-long group coaching program that met like almost weekly, and we weren't allowed to eat on screen. That was like in the group agreements, or we weren't allowed to eat during, and I was like, wow, this is going to be hard for me. um, but I get it. Like for that facilitator, it was like, this is, and she actually explained it as like a matter of respect, and so it
Mm,
matters to some people. I personally don't care.
yeah. VJ, you've got your hand up. What's going on?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm actually driving, so I'll try to keep my question as relevant as possible. Most recently, I was facilitating an ideation session, and it was with a leadership group at an large manufacturing company, right? And I had one leader from the content and marketing side who was really obnoxious to people's ideas, and essentially that I've come to discover that that's the culture in the company, and essentially people don't speak up, right? And me as a facilitator, when I try to tell him that uh, this person is breaking the spirit of the whole, or the whole idea behind ideation is to gather all the ideas and then put it to vote, right? To let people say what they think about it or opine. I did set all the guardrails to say that, hey, no idea is a bad idea, and we need to be respectful of each other's time and this thing. It simply didn't work, and in such a hard situation, I don't. I would love to hear your thoughts on how else could I manage this kind of tension.
I mean, I can take it. There are other,
Sure, go for it,
I
Jill.
also want to say I definitely don't, say I'm a master facilitator. I'm a experienced facilitator. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I would do. I mean, you've already noted this. Like, it's saying something about the culture of the organization, right? So that's notable. I think finding other ways to get people's ideas in the room, whether it's breaking them out, into groups so everybody gets it, like changing the mode of interaction is something that I certainly do a lot. Um, a well-timed side conversation with the person who is showing up, and then also as my, like, what is this person saying that needs to be said on behalf of the group is a good question to ask. I'm curious if anyone else wants to weigh in. Have at it. But actually, I will say one way this has come up on the account is, I don't remember the exact meme I did, but it was about the facilitator trick of silently standing next to somebody who needs to take it down.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Andrea, you got an idea on this one?
I wanted to share. I was in a virtual meeting. This is really recently, like only a couple of weeks ago, where there were only about 4 people in the meeting, and the person who had gathered everybody was off camera and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm eating. Yeah, I'm eating. I'll come on camera in a little bit." And we made a joke about like, okay, did you bring enough to share? And he starts talking about he was eating like chicken wings and like something super messy, and
Oh,
never once came on camera.
Mickey was eating chicken wings. That works.
I was actually.
I saw they looked really yummy. I was going to get your recipe. Janelle, what's going on?
I was just going to respond to VJ's uh, scenario really quickly. I wonder too if there were group agreements set at the beginning of the session that that person was then disrupting when they were interrupting and like me, kind of being a bully and like not respecting other people's opinions. And I wonder if like always coming back to that and maybe that you did and that didn't work with this person. But I also wonder what the topic of the session was, and if you could somehow tie it back to that. Like if the topic of the
Hmm.
session was communication and this person was constantly disrupting the flow of the session, I would probably be pretty transparent about that happening. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just I have more I guess I might have more questions about that scenario, but that's my kind of thin line of thinking.
yeah, that's interesting. So VJ, Sarah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so no, that's a great question, right? So my the topic was about ideating on what could be the best way to for a customer to start their journey in terms of, let's say you're considering on buying a window or a door or some product, and what should be your journey, right? How should even before you design a user interface, what could be the key steps or use cases that you need to consider before um starting to design or starting to give prompts even to an AI to say these are some of the ideas you can churn out. And as people were trying to, present some of their ideas, this leader felt everyone was few of them were overcomplicating, and he was not just rude, he was very obnoxious to say that, and he continued on and on that they were such stupid ideas. And the leaders, other leaders seemed to agree with him, and they almost have a terror mode, right? That the rest of the group don't even speak up. And I'm a vendor there, right? I'm just facilitating, and I did try to bring back the rule slide on to say that let's be respectful of each other's ideas, no idea is a bad idea, and so on. But uh, sometimes you can't change the culture. It takes time. And again, I feel some people are programmed the way they are and they feel they know best. I don't know. I think, Brian, sometime back we had the discussion about a-holes in the meeting room, right?
That was different meetup, but you're right.
Yeah, but so I don't know. It was really strange, right? And yeah, I didn't know how to deal with it. I did try to bring back the slide. I did try to go back and speak, but he was like, "You're a vendor. I know what I'm talking about," kind of attitude. So I was kind of stuck. It was. I was trying not to internalize it, but yeah, they did set a low bar also in terms of who is. Who according to them is skilled enough to do this kind of facilitation. And yeah, it was a very hard situation, but
So
I
I'm
tried
noticing
not to
Karen's got her
internalize.
hand up. Karen, do you have a thought on this one? And if you're speaking right now, I can't hear you.
Yep, there we go. And I had a question for Sarah, actually. So,
Yeah.
is there time to ask a question for Sarah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you. So, I may have missed this, but I know that you're putting these themes together for your work. Yeah, I mean, not for your work, but for your side work. Um, do you have other people participating in like sending you things? It's like, is there a way for people to be involved in that?
Oh yeah, do
Yeah.
you need more content?
My DMs are open, as they say. My DMs are open. I read my DMs. I respond to DMs, direct messages on Instagram. Um, I'm on Blue Sky and Threads, and yeah, but it's on Instagram. And I love when people send me things. Often repost things that people send me. I will riff on things people send me. People will send me you know, things that happen to them, and I will ask, can I share this? And I do. So I love, love, love getting input from people because the way that I think about it is we're all group members in the Ship Facilitator project, and so I welcome the group participation.
So great. I'm anxious to get to our next section, which of course is the Nova Scribes after party, where we can let our hair loose and ask some other questions. But before we do that, I just want to, since we're still on the air, any other questions, queries, prompts, insights, highlights, takeaways, likes, wishes, what ifs for Sarah before we turn off the recording and then move to our next section. Kathy, what do you got?
I just want to say thank you for bringing laughter into a world where it's just, things are kind of challenging right now. And I just always appreciate when your stuff shows up on Instagram and I just get to laugh out loud for a minute. It's a great gift. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you so much. Yeah. I mean, what I wanted to leave you all with was, find your people, find your joy, and we'll make it through. It's the only way we'll make it through. So thank you. It's been great to meet you all.
Yeah, I know you've got like 11,000 followers, but I mean, we're super fans of yours. I don't know how often you get to like meet them, but here we are. please keep doing what you're doing. It's great to know that you were out there waving the banner of the craziness of what we do. So thank you so much, Sarah. And everybody, Nova Scribes, please give Sarah From a big thank you very much. It was great to have you.
Thank you.